They want to finish the African National Congress. They want to disband every branch. They want to disband and remove comrades. When they disband you as a branch, you must still be a branch. When they expel you, you must still be a member of the ANC. You must not go anywhere. When they disband a branch, a region, you must still remain a branch and a region because you were elected.
To what the former president was saying before the suspended Secretary General spoke, addressing his supporters today. Again, critical of some judges, and we'll look at that a little bit later. Let's listen to some of what he said.
Angizange nginqenge umuntu ngayilwela inkululeko angizange nginqenge ngangizimisela ukufa nokufa uma ke kuzosuthatha ilungelo lami manje hey serious le ndaba umfoka shovadli ngulu mina kokozo nkomethula izavolo sebela abantwana ezifulela zalwa insizwa mina nobaba omkhulu kwakuyinsizwa angikwazi ukuzala abanye abafana ngeke kodwa kasiyeke leyo kungaze ngithuthele sesihlanganileke nabameli bami sabhala incwadi saya enkantolo ukuthi sicela ukuthi sizobeka ukuthi lesigwebo sabo sirong sicela ukuthi basihlehlise noma basehlise bavumile ke ukuthatha incwadi sebesinikeze ilanga okufanele basiyokhuluma ngalo siyayake siyokhuluma sikhuluma amaqiniso ilokho ebengifisa ukuthi ngikusho bangathi abantu bayahlangela umuntu angaze ngihlangele yini silindeleke ukuthi siye enkantolo siyochaza ukuthi yini sithi sengathithi nokho baphazamile angifuni ukungena kuloko bengithinta nje into aneyindawana ezithile ukuthi isuke lento kuleli ya judge elithema lifika lapha la ngibona nje ukuthi sengathi libhekene nami ngqo lase ngicela ukuthi alingahlali uma ngilapha ya.
All right, this afternoon, police said that they would be sending reinforcements to the former president's homestead at Nkandla in northern KwaZulu-Natal after a large number of people made their way to Zuma's home to show their support. Hundreds of people today. The pro-Zuma supporters ignored level 4 lockdown regulations by holding a large gathering. Remember, no gatherings are allowed. There was a little social distancing. Many could be seen not wearing masks. National Police spokesperson Liranzu Temba says not adhering to lockdown regulations is a serious offence. All right, we'll bring you more from the police a little bit later, but let's go to Ayanda Mhlongo, who's on the ground in Nkandla. Ayanda, maybe you can run us through the events of the day, some of the highlights from what the former president said, and I guess the crowd is dissipating now.
Yeah, very good evening to you, Francis. Good evening to our viewers. Certainly, the numbers of supporters that came out here today show their support to the former president, the largest group that we've seen in the last 5 days that we have been here. They came from across South Africa, various provinces, namely the Northwest Province, Free State, Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, and Gauteng, all here to say that they are not going going to allow the former president to hand himself over to the authorities or to be arrested. And of course, in that really surprise appearance by the former president, it wasn't something that we had been expecting. Today, from the morning, we were speaking about the media briefing that is set to take place at 6 p.m. Indeed, I must say, an update from the Jacob Zuma Foundation is that that media briefing is going to go ahead at 6 p.m. as planned. But the former president coming out to speak to his supporters today, basically to bring them up to speed with regard to the current situation that he's faced with and how he got there, defending his reasoning for not appearing before the Zondo Commission, and then taking them through the process leading up to the Constitutional Court's decision to sentence him to 15 months in prison for being in contempt of court. A lot, of course, that he spoke about. He spoke about the judiciary, and even before what has happened now with regards to the Zondo Commission, took his supporters at how the commission was actually established. But to sum up, I think what he was saying was very grateful for the support that he seemed today. Said that he was reassured. But interestingly also, Francis, the former president not touching on the scenes out here today. You know, one would have expected that he would have spoken out about large gatherings, instead simply saying that he was happy to see that in this new democracy that people are able to express themselves, the freedom of expression, by saying, basically by meaning that they come out to vent their frustration, to say that they're not going to allow the Constitution to be violated. But just to speak more about what the former president said, let me bring in quickly my colleague Simphiwe Makhanya. Simphiwe, thanks again. Interesting that we weren't expecting the former president to come out here today. We saw him briefly yesterday when he came out with Amabuto, but I suppose it was important for him to come out to thank his supporters, and indeed that's what he did, although not touching on what has really been critical in terms of the behavior of the supporters out here and what's going to happen then moving forward.
The fact of the matter, Ayanda, is that the former president is in a very difficult position. You know, so him coming out here to speak to his supporters, you know, he said on stage that they make him to be brave as he embarks on this journey of actually, you know, trying to avoid jail time, basically.
Yeah.
So, like you said before, that we were expecting him to sort of touch on the behavior that has been unfolding here. You'd recall that earlier on during the day, we saw, you know, quite a worrisome, you know, scenes here with the gunshots being fired just around the vicinity where we are. The members of the MK-MBA had to intervene and quickly try and quell the situation. But as you can see behind me now, Ayanda, the thousands of people that have come to, you know, support the former president are now beginning to make their way home. In fact, most of them have since left this place where we are. And I can certainly tell you that the ones that we spoke to since the early hours of the morning, you know, said as they leave here today, but they are resolute that they will continue to show their support to the former president.
Also, interestingly, the suspended Secretary General of the ANC, Ace Magashule, back again for the second day, and also taking an opportunity to address the supporters that had come out here today. Him taking a different direction, though, in his address, as he was speaking about there are people who are out to destroy the ANC.
If you saw earlier on, Ayanda, the group that was basically marching up and down the road, they held different placards, and some of them were basically speaking to the issue of disunity within the ANC in itself.
Yeah.
You know, we do know that the ANC took a decision to deploy NEC members here in the province to actually try and deal with this situation. But on the list that they sent out, I can tell you that only maybe one or two of those NEC members ended up, being able to come here and have a word with the former president. The suspended Secretary General is in a very big problem himself. So him coming here, it's actually another way of him trying to garner support for him as he tries, to fight for his political, survival.
True. And just to name those, as you're saying, Simphiwe, those two members of the NEC who are part of the group that has been deployed to the province of KwaZulu-Natal, that being Lindiwe Sisulu, who our colleague Samgelo Masego spoke to and confirmed with that she did come to see the former president, as well, of course, as Tony Yengeni. We don't know who else did come to see the former president, because, of course, sometimes from our vantage point, it was a bit difficult to see any of the ANC leaders that were coming through. So we're relying on our sources inside. But there were also members of the Provincial Executive Committee from KwaZulu-Natal that also came to meet with former President Jacob Zuma. He is currently meeting with his legal team as they prepare for the 6 p.m. media briefing. Apart from, of course, what was happening here, we've also been observing that for the first time today, we saw a large police deployment more visible in that they came out to stop the motorcade that was coming from Durban with the members of the ANC's eThekwini region. We've heard that, yes, there were reinforcements in the area. First time that we actually saw them actively out. And were part of that roadblock. Some negotiations were made between the supporters of the former president, and eventually they were then allowed to proceed and come through to the home of the former president. However, the gatherings still continued. Many people who are out here today still defying the lockdown regulations. No masks, no social distance. With that, Francis, it's back to you.
Thank you to Ayanda and Simphiwe on the ground at Nkandla. We are expecting the former president to again address his supporters at 6 o'clock tonight, and we'll bring you the latest. We'll return and speak to our reporters as well a little bit later on.